Hi, welcome to the Leadership with Sonia podcast. Everything leadership, life and learning, plus outstanding interviews with great leaders and humans across the globe. Let's get listening and learning.
Nobody toxic ever got promoted sounding unsure. Sit with that for a second, because it's the entire trick, the entire mechanism, the reason the worst boss you ever had got the job in the first place. Absolutely. They didn't say, right, I'm not sure yet, let me check. They didn't say, that's a good question, I want to look at the data. They said, absolutely, trust me, I've got this. And the room believed them. Not because the room was stupid, because the room was human. So let's really talk about this, because we're talking about why toxic people don't rise despite their behavior. They rise because of it. And more importantly, what you can actually do about it, whether you're hiring, promoting, watching it happen from 3 desks away. Okay. All righty. Welcome back to Leadership with Sonia. I'm Sonia, and for 35 years, I've been in the rooms where these decisions get made. Okay, so here's what prompted this episode. All right, this is really important. Mel Robbins has an episode out with Dr. Leanne Brinke.
Why are people with dark personality traits so often in leadership and powerful roles?
This is a great question, which I've spent many a moon thinking about. There's I think a whole bunch of different reasons. The first one, I think we overlook, which is just that they want it. When we study narcissism, often we have people do self-report, so they're just reporting on their own personality. One of those items is, I am a born leader. And you're like, how much do you agree with that statement? If you're like, yeah, I am a born leader, then you're probably also gunning for that promotion at work. Like, you're going to be more likely to put yourself forward for a high status position. So that's one thing. Another is that we tend to be really blinded by their confidence. Like, we confuse confidence with competence. And so when people, come across with like a lot of bravado, they say they can and they have done all of these incredible things and they seem very self-assured, we believe it. And whenever you're talking about people who tend to be pumping themselves up and are willing to lie in order to get what they want, like, that can be quite misleading.
Now, if you don't know that name, you should, because she's an associate professor at the University of Columbia, where she runs something called the Truth and Trust Lab. Love the name. Which might be, I believe, the best name in academia, by the way. She spent 2 decades studying deception, distrust, and what psychologists call dark personality traits, right? Narcissism, psychopathy, so many things, right? Her research has taken her from incarcerated populations to hedge fund managers to politicians. Draw whatever conclusions you like from that list. Whatever conclusions. I'd like to add other titles. Anyway, she also has just written a book called Poisonous People, and her core finding, the one that made me stop scrolling, is this: confidence is persuasive. Our brains mistake certainty for competence. Okay, they mistake certainty for competence. That's it. That's the bug in the human operating system. When someone speaks with total conviction, something ancient in us goes, oh, they must know. Certainty reads as ability. Swagger reads as skill. And people with dark personality traits, the manipulators, the credit thieves, the ones who charm upwards and punch downwards, they have discovered this bug. Not consciously necessarily, right? But they exploit it every single day. But here's what her research shows. People high in narcissism and psychopathy come across as remarkably confident, charming, creative even, right? Great in an interview, electric in a pitch. Ask a different question though. Ask, are they actually a good manager? Do they follow through on what they have promised? And the research answer is, you guessed it, no, they don't. The confidence was the product. There was nothing behind it, okay? Whew, I know. Let's think about that. And if you want the statistic that should keep every board member awake at night, here it is. Research in this field has found that psychopathy shows up in senior management at roughly 3 times the rate of the general population. 3 times. 3 times. We are not accidentally letting these people through. We have built promotion systems that select for them. Think about that, right? So I want to talk about how the trick actually works. And let me walk you through the mechanics, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't. Picture a promotion decision, 2 candidates. All right, let's think about this. Candidate A is asked about next year's forecasts and says, honestly, I'm not sure yet. The data's mixed. Give me a week and I'll have a real answer for you. Candidate B is asked the same question and says, we'll grow 20%. I've seen this pattern before. I know exactly what to do. Now, everything we know about good judgment says candidate A is the better leader. Intellectual honesty, respect for evidence, humility to check before committing other people's money and careers to a guess. Okay, love that. But who feels like a leader in that room? Candidate B, every time, because the panel isn't scoring accuracy. No one follows up in a year to check whose forecast held. The panel is scoring on how it felt to listen to them. And certainty feels safe. It certainly feels like leadership, especially when things are uncertain, which, let's face it, is always humans instinctively turn towards whoever sounds most sure. Absolutely. So the incentive structure is perverse and everyone's playing it, mostly without knowing. The genuinely capable person hedges because they understand the problem. Their honesty is read as a weakness. I know. Can you believe that? The toxic person projects total certainty because they don't care about being right. They care about winning the room. Their performance is read as strength. Okay, you feeling this? Okay, you've experienced this. Repeat that decision a few thousand times across an organization, across an economy, and you get exactly the world we've got. A measurable overrepresentation of dark trait individuals in senior ranks and a quiet exodus of thoughtful people who got tired of being told they lack executive presence. I know. Can you believe that? It's so true. All right, executive presence. We can talk about that phrase for a moment because I think that's really important, because half the time when people say a candidate lacks executive presence, what they actually mean is the person told me the truth at normal volume. So let's talk about the cost of getting this wrong. This is really important. Here's why this isn't just an interesting psychology finding. This is a business critical failure mode. Think about what happens after candidate B gets the job. First, the forecast is wrong because it was never a forecast, it was a performance. But by then, right, they've moved on, rebranded the miss, and found someone to blame. Dark trait individuals are exceptional at managing impressions upwards. The people above them see them as a star. The people below them see the truth. And in most organizations, guess whose opinion counts at promotion time? Second, And this is part of the part that compounds, because everyone watching learns a lesson. The high potential people in the room, the ones with the actual judgment, they clock what got rewarded. Some of them start performing certainty because they don't feel what corrodes the organization's grip on reality. And some of them, after the best of them, quietly conclude this isn't a game worth playing and leave. Third, psychological safety dies because if I'm not sure, let me check, is career limiting, then nobody says it anymore, which means problems surface late, risks go unflagged, and the first time leadership hears about the iceberg is the sound of it hitting the hull, right? Yes, that's the truth cost. It's not a bad hire. It's a systemic silencing of honesty, one promotion decision at a time. And here's a sentence I want you to remember from this whole episode. Your best leaders are saying, I'm not sure, let me check, and getting passed over for it. Yes, they're getting passed over for it right now in your organization today. They're getting passed over. So this is just so important because this is what I've learned in 35 years and I'm still learning, all right? Now, this is territory I've spent my entire career on, right? 3 books, 35 years, more leadership rooms that I can count. And if I had to compress everything I've learned into 3 phrases, this is what they would be. Courage over charisma, character over confidence, and evidence over ego. Notice something in those pairs. In every single one, we've been trained to reward the second word, charisma, confidence, ego. Though we call it self-belief when we're being polite, they're the shiny attributes. They photograph well. They demonstrate well in an interview, right? But the first words are actually what's building organizations. Courage is telling the board the number they don't want to hear. Character is what your people experience when you have power over them and no one senior is watching. And evidence is willing to be wrong in public because reality matters more than your reputation. So let's get personal here, right? Because I've seen it happen over and over and over again. And I have worked with thousands of leaders and it breaks my heart. And here's my deepest conviction and the reason I don't want this to work at all. The world doesn't need more powerful people. It needs more great humans in powerful positions. We do not have a shortage of ambition. Ambition is doing fine. What we have is a pipeline problem for decency, a system that filters out the exact traits we want in leaders and the exact moments those traits show themselves. So how to fix your own filters? And this is really, really important, okay? Really important. This is the practical section because awareness without tools is just anxiety. So whether you run a company, a team, or you're just trying to survive one of these people, here's where to start. 1, separate confidence from evidence in every big decision. When someone makes a claim, all right, get in the habit of asking one quiet question. How do they know that? Not how sure do they sound? What is the actual basis? Track and record the data, the vibe, right? You'll be amazed how often the answer is the vibe. Okay, make me walk through how you got here as a standard question in interviews and promotion panels. Confident performers hate that question. Genuine operators love it. All right. Number 2, reward collaboration. Okay, not certainty. So if someone in your team says, I'm not sure yet, let me thank them out loud in front of others. You're not just being nice, you're repairing the incentive structure in real time. So when someone's confident forecast turns out wrong, don't let it evaporate. Kindly, professionally close the loop. People adjust their certainty very quickly once accuracy starts being remembered, right? Number 3 is collect the view from below. Dark trait individuals manage up brilliantly and manage down brutally. So the single best detection tool you have is strategically asking, what is it like to report to this person? what do their junior people, assistants, peers with nothing to gain say? If someone is charming to you and cruel to the waiter, believe the waiter. It's the oldest test there is and still outperforms most psychometrics. And number 4, if you're the honest one being passed over, don't fix it by becoming them. The answer to a system that rewards fake certainty is not to fake certainty better. It's to pair honesty with visual structure. I'm not sure yet. Here's exactly how I'll find out. And here's when you'll have my answer. That's not hedging. That's leadership with a timestamp. And it gives decision makers the safety they're actually craving without the fiction. There's some really important points here, because here's the good news. And I genuinely believe, right, it's good news. This conversation is going mainstream finally. When researchers like Dr. Brinke are on the biggest podcasts in the world explaining the machinery, when the science of the dark personalities is sitting next to the neuroscience of trust in the public square, the trick stops working as well, because the trick depends on us not seeing it. So next time someone in a meeting says, I'm not sure yet, let me check, I want you to hear that differently. That's not a weakness. That might be the most trustworthy sentence spoken in the room. And next time someone dazzles you with certainty, enjoy the show and then ask them, how do they know? Like, how they know. Confidence is a performance. Competence is a practice. Learn to tell them apart. And you'll change who rises in your team, your organization, and maybe further than that. So that's the work. Great leaders and great humans. Not either, both. In this episode, I really hope this hit a nerve. And I suspect for some of you, it hit several. Share it with someone who needs it, especially someone sitting on a promotion decision like this quarter. And tell me, have you watched confidence beat competence in your workplace, and what happened next? So definitely reach out to us at soniamcdonald.com or leadershiphq.com.au. And next time, stay courageous, stay curious, and back the person who says, let me check. Because we live and breathe this work, and we want to see great leaders and great humans in all levels of organizations, especially at the top. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast Leadership with Sonia. Find out more about Sonia, her work, and more podcasts at soniamcdonald.com.au and reach out to her and her fabulous team to learn more.